Hello, I'm Eve.
And I'm Bruce Wayne.
This isn't what we agreed we'd be doing.
You said let's improvise. I reached into the darkness, I pulled out Batman.
You're not Bruce Wayne or Batman, you're Dan. And we're joined by a special guest today.
Very excited to be joined, very honoured to be joined by Paul McGann.
That's right, the 8th Doctor.
The 8th Doctor, Paul McGann.
Excellent, excellent. And today we're going for a very special episode, and a short of a normal episode, because Dan has to go save the universe.
I have to leave for my regular job, which is a vampire hunter.
Yes, he is a vampire hunter by day and night.
I sleep.
And sometimes he breaks to do podcasting.
Sometimes I take a break from slaying the forces of darkness to talk about my favourite subject, Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, which I understand is some kind of science fiction show. Any day, we'll be talking about the Master and his many adventures. Who he is.
We should rename this podcast to Educating Eve.
Yes, tell me about the Master.
Well, the Master, as our dear friend Paul McGann knows, is a rival Time Lord.
So he's a Doctor Who as well?
Well, he's like a Doctor Who, but he's the other side of the coin, if you will.
He's a much older Doctor Who, raddled by the ravages of time and become cynical and hateful of people.
No, he, the Master, and sometimes she, Missy, is evil.
So the Master is liberal?
No. Evil as in will try and take over the world, enslave the human race, get the Cybermen to do stuff.
That seems in line with modern politics. But,
it does seem in line with
But you're
modern
telling
politics.
me that the Master is a Time Lord. How about...
And sometimes Time Lady.
What happened that made the Master so different to the Doctor? Tell us the origins of this great and powerful foe of the Doctor.
Well, writer Terence Dicks saw the Doctor as a Sherlock Holmes figure, and decided that the Doctor needed a Moriarty, and so the Master was created.
A classic baddie,
a classic villain.
Same power versus same power.
Iron Man versus bigger Iron Man.
Someone else who can regenerate.
Hulk versus bigger Hulk.
Yes.
Doctor versus evil Doctor.
Yes, or in this case, the Master.
The Master.
Excellent, I like it. Question, how does the Master fit into canon, given that regenerations come from the Timeless Child? How come he can regenerate?
We don't talk about the Timeless Child, Eve. That was a fever dream that Chris Chibnall had and wrote down, and unfortunately accidentally submitted it as a script.
A little smack from Paul McGann there, but no comment, I imagine, because you don't want to lose any potential future job.
Paul wouldn't slag off Doctor Who, but I assure you, Paul McGann is smirking here with us, which probably is a breach of Paul's confidentiality.
Well, that's all right. We'll mute everything you say. Classic joke, Paul.
Oh God, Paul, you can't say that on air.
It's all right. We'll edit it out. Okay. The Master, where did he come from? Where did he go?
Gallifrey and away from Gallifrey. The Master's actual...
What's his beef, though? What's his beef with the Doctor? What's his beef with humanity and generally just nice people?
The Master's raison d'etre, if you will.
I don't know the term.
I'm just saying it to sound smart. I don't know what it means.
Excellent.
His reason for being the way he is unknown. Like, it's just... I feel the Master's almost deliberately underused in that he's never really been given much of a motivation other than nuts. He's nuts.
What, he's just a bit crackers?
He's just a bit crackers, yeah.
Well, we were listening to a little bit of the masterful audio drama earlier, and he mentioned rebelling against the Time Lords. Surely there's more to it than just him being a bit crackers.
Writers will... So Russell T Davies tried to explain the Master's madness by having the sound of drums. But that...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that was only really for one storyline.
Yeah, I thought that was for a, Master sealed away thing.
Yeah, it's never been. Well, what actually happened there was the Time Lords were trapped in the Time War, and they were like, they used like precognition and magic science to figure out that the Doctor and the Master survived the Time War, and they're like, I'll tell you what, let's implant this sound in the Master's head, and we'll just follow it out. We'll just follow this sound out, and everyone was like, won't that make the Master insane? And they're like, yeah, but fuck it.
That's not very nice.
No, the Time War's the best.
Okay. Well, how about then you give me the origin of the Master from the context of the show, of the viewer? You know, when did we first get our rival Time Lords, so to speak?
In 1971, John Pertwee was the Doctor.
Very confident with the year there. I take it.
I hope nobody corrects me in the comments on anywhere we post this, because I will look like a complete idiot.
I know. 1972, you
1972.
fool.
I'm certain it was 1971. They were like, right, we need this Moriarty figure. So they had a whole season. So basically, John Pertwee's Doctor was trapped on Earth, and he was sort of bunking with UNIT,
yes,
who were like the super secret army who knew that aliens were real, and they were like, well, when aliens show up, we're gonna beat the crap out of them.
So, you know, BBC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Basically, yeah. And the Doctor was sort of their scientific advisor, and they had John Pertwee's first season was him with UNIT. I think he was all together with them for about 3 years, really, trapped on Earth, couldn't operate the TARDIS. And the second season of Doctor Who was every story there was an alien invasion.
Yeah.
But the twist was they were all in some way brought to Earth by the Master. It was always, and I brought them here, Doctor, and it was like a big twist. And the last episode of that season, the Master did a deal with literal Satan to defeat the Doctor.
Actually Satan.
Actual Satan.
You know, Christian, biblical.
Well, the alien that inspired the.
Oh, of course.
But literal Satan in Doctor Who terms, which means there's been 2 literal Satans in.
I was about to ask, is this the same Satan from?
Nope, different.
Doctor
the
Who
David Tennant
orbiting the black hole. Yeah.
Totally different literal Satan.
Okay.
So Doctor.
This is why sometimes I joke about showrunners not having watched all of Doctor Who, is when stuff like this happens. But I guess it's another one of that alien.
It's just no, it's a totally separate entity. The one from the 70s was from a race literally called the Demons, and they were like really big, you know, horn heads, hairy chests, goat legs, and operated via science that looks an awful lot like magic.
Yeah.
The one from the David Tennant episode is
big chap,
just a big CGI monster that's from
monster.
Dawn of Time or something. I can't remember.
There's an awful lot of stuff. The Dawn of Time was a very crowded place, wasn't it?
It was amazing. It was
just the biggest party you've ever seen.
Big party of like eldritch beings that were like, oh, wait until we get to proper time, we'll rule them all with our powers. Just bury me underground, leave some cryptic clues for cults to start and resurrect us. Yes. Fantastic.
And seed all of these into Earth.
Yeah. And I love the fact that Doctor Who has faced down literal Satan on 2 separate occasions, and the Doctor Who universe is so bleak. There are 2 literal Satans, and they're both as valid as the other. But yeah, we're talking about the Master, not literal Satan. What was the question? Yeah.
Tell me about the Master coming into the show.
The original Master was played by a man called Roger Delgado, who was smooth as butter. If you go back and watch those episodes, you'll fall in love with Roger Delgado and his portrayal as the Master.
Great. Is this the guy that looks a bit like that early interpretation of the Joker? What's his name?
Cesar Romero.
Yes, is he smooth as Cesar Romero? Does he have that moustache?
Smoother.
His moustache is smoother even than that. Excellent.
Well, he had a full goatee as well.
Okay. So very much a classical villain. of the time.
He was like a mafioso type. He was like a mafia man. He was very sort of. He had that sort of smooth but dangerous edge. Do you know what I mean? He could convince you to do stuff, and trick you and stuff. He was just very charismatic as well. You kind of just believed that he was having fun 100% of the time.
Oh. So it's always been a fun camp character.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. There's a really fun line that I remember. For some reason, this line always sticks in my head, and it's during an episode called "The Claws of Axos." And it was about these shape-shifting aliens that come and try and propagate themselves on Earth. The Master's leading them, of course. They turn on the Master, and the Master goes to the Doctor for help, which happened a lot as well. And and there's a nuclear reactor involved because, of course. And the Master, and they're all like, "Oh, what do we do if the reactor blows up?" And the Master's like, "Oh, you know, the usual things you do in the event of a nuclear catastrophe." Sticky back plastic on the windows, that kind of thing, and I just really enjoyed it, and it just sounded kind of summed up for me at least that original incarnation of the Master. Unfortunately, Roger Delgado passed away in a car crash, so he was no longer able to continue playing the Master, of course. And for a long time, quite a long time, the Master was just on ice. The character didn't die on screen. He just sort of wasn't there anymore. And one year they brought him back, but what they did was they made out that the Master would burn all his regenerations away, and his body came back, and he was like this freaky, googly-eyed skeleton with all rotting skin and stuff. Pretty grim, grisly viewing, really, for tea time television.
Yeah, a little bit different to the final, quote-unquote, final regeneration of the Doctor in our case, who was granted magical power.
Well, the Master had this habit of stealing bodies and regenerations and stuff.
That's a cool premise, for a character there.
So,
and a legit reason for the Master to be a villain to Time Lord society.
Yeah, and he was like this emaciated skeleton for a while, and all the smooth, buttery, kind of manipulative, all the stuff you like about Roger Delgado was gone.
Okay.
And the skeletal version of the Master was just this aggressively angry. He was just pissed off, and I can understand why. And his plan was, from what I remember off the top of my head, assassinate the High Council of Gallifrey and blame the Doctor, and something to do with the Eye of Harmony, which is the captured black hole that sits at the heart of Gallifrey that gives the Time Lords their immense power. And then the Doctor obviously thwarted that plan. A few years later, the Master turned up in this emaciated body, different actor, different prosthetics, but it was the same sort of idea.
Okay.
But what he did there was incredibly evil and just cruel for the sake of being cruel. He stole the body of the father of one of the Doctor's companions, Nyssa, and that was just what the Master looked like, played by Anthony Ainley, who was kind of an echo of Roger Delgado, but there were just slight variations.
Okay.
It was the same sort of all-black outfit with a goatee and immaculate hair and all that smooth stuff. But he was just a bit more wackier, really, the Anthony Ainley Master. He just did stuff because... and that was the last we saw of the Master.
Well, okay. I mean,
series.
Really? Okay. Well, we're on a roll there talking about the Master. Tell me more about the various incarnations of the Master, the various regenerations, I suppose, even though it seems like there's been more than the allowed amount now.
Well, yeah, the Master's a total regeneration thief. There'll probably be a word for that on Gallifrey, the bloody bugger. So,
and in German.
And probably in German as well, yeah. Germans have got a word for everything. The body stealing housing or something, I don't know. Apologies for any German listeners. Hi, Auntie Ricky, for butchering your beautiful language, an efficient language. Anyway, shut up, Paul. You can't say that in front of a live mic.
We'll let it out. We'll let it out. It's fine.
Such a terror. The next Master was the Master that came... you will remember this as well, Paul. Eric Roberts in the TV movie opposite our good friend of the channel, Paul McGann, who.
Thanks for coming on, by the way.
Thanks for coming on, Paul. Our Paul, Mr. McGann. Nice glasses. What was I saying? Yeah, Eric Roberts. So his performance, in my opinion, was fascinating because the first half of the movie, I don't think he watched Doctor Who, and then about halfway through production, I feel like he watched a lot of Doctor Who and went, "Oh, I can just have fun with this." So the first half, he's basically just sort of Terminator-esque. He's wandering around.
A big baddie.
Very serious, in a big black coat with sunglasses, being very intimidating. It's not a bad performance by any means, it's just very... When you sit it next to the rest of the Masters, it's very strange. But then the second half of the film, he comes out in this big robe, he's very camp, very extravagant, he's like, oh yeah, I'm the Master, I'm gonna steal your soul, Doctor, ah! So yeah, it's very fun. He's one of the more fun elements of the TV movie, I think. And there's a very obvious shift where he's gone, I'll just watch a couple of episodes, what's the worst that can happen?
You don't think that was to do with direction at all? You think he just came in one day, maybe he'd had a few too many bags of Haribo that day, some Sunny D, as was tradition at the time, and just decided he'd be hyper about it.
Paul, do you have any... could you shed any light on this, Paul?
Just shaking your head. You're not a very good podcaster, Paul. You're
Jesus Christ,
not very vocal.
Thanks for coming on. People
Yes, you can have takeaway after this.
Yes, we'll get you a restaurant-style meal.
Excellent. Okay. So we had a campy doctor there. It seems then, like in New Who, we've had as many or more doctors than we ever had before then. Is that right?
Doctors or Masters?
Masters, I should say.
So, Masters in New Who, we've had John Sim, I forget, Michelle Gomez and Sacha Dhawan. So that's 3. No, we're on par with Masters now. We're reaching Master equilibrium now. So in New Who, we started off with, technically, yes, more, because we had Derek Jacobi as well. I forget about him. So Derek Jacobi, famous British actor, very talented British actor as well. He played a character called Professor Yana at the end of the universe. Massive spoilers, by the way. If you've not seen this episode and have any interest in watching Doctor Who from this podcast at all, just stop listening now and go and watch season 3 of the new Doctor Who. And then come back and listen to us.
Now, was this the elderly gentleman with white hair that had one of those watches?
He had a pocket
watch. The doctor
watch.
was, this looks familiar. It was set up earlier in the season.
It was set up earlier in the season, and for like 5 minutes, Derek Jacobi was... It turns out that he's a Time Lord hiding his consciousness, and in the end it's like, oh god, it's the Master. It's such a well-directed scene as well. I would argue that scene is possibly, even to this day, one of the best directed, most tense moments of Doctor Who ever. And Derek Jacobi, for the last 5 minutes of the episode, is the Master, and he's just so horrifyingly psychopathic and angry, and there's so much potential for... It's on, obviously, Big Finish have made a whole series of Derek Jacobi as the Master. But it's fantastic. It's one of the best 5 minutes of the Master we ever got.
Why do we only get 5 minutes?
Because the Master kills this woman, but in her dying breath she shoots him, and he's like, fuck's sake, and he regenerates into John Sim, who... There's 2 performances.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, I'm remembering the John Sim Doctor and the wonderful image of a lot more John Sim.
Oh, so there's 3 different unique performances of that John Sim gives as the Master. There's the first one where he's...
And this is our first...
The Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And he's very wacky. He's very much, I've got a plan and the Doctor can't win. I'm going to win. And he's just very pleased with himself for like 90 minutes or something. He's just like, and it's great.
So a Prime Minister doing things that are not helpful towards doctors. Okay, no further comment. Please continue.
Oh, don't shake your head, Paul. Come on. That was a good solid observational humour there from my co-host Evelyn. That was fantastic. No, the master's like, I've won. Blah, 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 blah. He's basically just having a victory lap for 2 episodes, and it's great. I loved it. But then
what happens, Dan?
So the second performance of the master that Johnson gives is in David Tennant's last episode, where he's been resurrected, but his body's like falling apart, sort of thing, and he's just a lunatic. He's just this lunatic wandering around, doing stuff like, oh, I'm gonna fucking make everyone the master. So yeah, that's fun. I quite enjoyed that one as well.
He sort of just becomes the leader of everything then, doesn't he?
No, he becomes...
I distinctly remember sometime next, I'm sure it was a new episode, we're now under master occupation now, and here's 100 missile silos.
No, what happened was, Eve, he turned everyone on the planet into the master, apart from the Doctor and Wilf. Literally everyone else was the master. Motorbike going past there. Look at me, I've got the loud noise on my motorbike. Yeah, literally everyone on the planet becomes the master. It's fucking ridiculous. It's just batty bananas. It's just Russell T Davies flexing the popularity of Doctor Who, I think. Yeah,
I'm just having this wonderful visual image of just all these people being the master.
Yeah.
How did that even happen? What was that, like some kind of magical psychic field?
There was something called the Eternity Gate, and it was supposed to make people immortal, but the master reprogrammed it to make everyone the master.
That's just wonderfully ridiculous and camp, and I love it.
Yeah. This millionaire was trying to make his daughter immortal. But he needed the master to fix it, so he had the master resurrected, and said, "Right, come work for me." And then, to be fair, forget this as well. That was quite a scary interpretation of the master, because he was always hungry, and there's just scenes of him eating and talking about food. But as he's talking about food, he's losing his mind, and he's just going on these crazy fucking rambles.
And this is where we got our super old David Tennant Doctor as well.
No, that was the other episode, the previous episode.
It's all wonderful.
David Tennant's last episode. The third, and he ate 2 homeless people. And the third
glaze over that
interpretation of the master we get from Johnson is my favourite, and it's in the Peter Capaldi finale, where there's 2 masters. Well, there's the master and Missy, and the Cybermen, of course, but it's my favourite because he's so cruel, so just wonderfully, delightfully cruel in that episode. And this is a story arc where the Doctor's trying to turn Missy good, and the Master comes, and he almost does it, and the Master comes in and he's like, well, sure, you could do all that shit, but it's going to get killed, and if you hang around with me, we'll live, we'll get out of here, and, the Doctor can just die in this hellhole, this Cyberman-filled hellhole. See you later, alligator. But yeah, and he serves as this perfect sort of devil on Missy's shoulder to counteract the Doctor's sort of angel. And it's a wonderful counterbalance. And he also sort of grows a goatee and makes references to the fact that the Master used to have a goatee, and I enjoyed that shit.
He's such a good evil person, Beard. If you have a goatee, right, however nice you are, however golden your hat is, however much money you give to charity as a percentage of your total salary, regardless, people will perceive you as more evil than you actually are.
Yep. Paul McGann's not in there.
Will be concerned around your presence. They will wonder, are they going to attempt to dominate my country? And turn it into some kind of authoritarian dystopia?
Is this person leading an army of Cybermen? So many questions.
People fear you, and not for the right reasons, and not ways that will help you socially. So please shave off your goatee.
I say
shave it clean.
I say keep
I don't know.
going.
Do something modern with it. Do something interesting that people haven't done recently.
Yeah,
like
keep
just
looking
keep
evil.
maybe just a little bit above your lip. Just a little bit.
Oh God. Oh no.
Okay, the master. So we are no doubt going to get more masters. Our current master. Tell me about them.
Wait, we're skipping Missy.
Oh, well, we can't skip Missy. Goodness me.
We've still got 2 masters to go. Are you
tell
suffering
me
master
more.
fatigue?
Tell me more.
So Missy is the female incarnation of the master. So the first one so far, played by Micheal Gomez, and she was just delightfully batty. Genuinely, she was like a Catwoman with an rolled 10 on intelligence. Just wonderful, just wonderfully psychopathic, very fun, very funny, very nice, very evil. So yeah, it was great. She was great. She was like
And she was around for quite a while, wasn't she?
She was. She was like
good many seasons.
Peter Capaldi's master, and she was like Mary Poppins but evil, and I love that.
I do. I like that. I like that idea.
And there was a really good storyline where
Was she Scottish?
She was Scottish to counteract Peter Capaldi's Scottish.
Excellent. A good juxtaposition there between different kinds of Scottish.
To be fair, I think that the master, a good master, should always be like a dark reflection of the current Doctor, really, and not just because they're both Scottish. But anyway, so Missy was just wonderful, and she had really good storylines, just really well written, and she was just horrible at times, and I loved her. I love you, Micheal Gomez. If you ever listen to this,
well, actually, I'm thinking of sending her an email and getting them on the podcast.
Please,
maybe
please
next
don't.
week.
Please don't.
We'll see.
Hope she's a better guest than Paul.
So he's just gone to the toilet.
He's just gone for a dump.
Okay, Missy. Anything notable about Missy before we
Missy?
before we talk about perhaps a different master?
Just really the notable storyline where the Doctor's like, I bet I can make you good, and Missy's like, no, you can't, and then actually you can. He does, but the Doctor never knows that he's turned Missy good at the end. It's very sad. It's very bittersweet, but it's very good. It's very, very, very good. I might just make you watch that, just with no context. Just be like, 'cause I would say, and please, if you do agree with me, just give me a hell yeah. The Peter Capaldi's last 2 stories, which we're sort of talking about, possibly the 2 best Doctor Who stories on television that have been made for TV. I think they're genuinely wonderful, and obviously Heaven Sent as well.
Is that the one where he punches a wall?
It's the one where he punches a wall.
He does punch that wall.
Yeah. Fun fact: Peter Capaldi actually did punch a wall, but they had to keep cutting around where he destroyed it in one punch.
Yeah, they had to keep rebuilding the wall because of Peter Capaldi's incredible strength. He's the strongest of all Doctors. So hey, welcome back, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Anyway, so we were just talking about the oh, Christ. I didn't have the taps either. Okay, Missy. Now, is our next Doctor the Doctor we've seen most recently?
Sacha Dhawan.
Okay, now, was it a good reveal that this person was the Master? Because as I understand it, it was this episode had that person in it as a character for a little while before they went, actually, you might know me as something else.
So it was, again, spoilers for this episode. So that whole episode was about spies and James Bond, and they were all wearing penguin suits and stuff. And he played a character whose code name was and so all through the episode they call him and then the Doctor picks holes in his little story, and she's like blah 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 blah, and then she goes and the Master goes, and that's why I chose the name and I'm like, good. So he's quite a fun Master. He's poorly written because Chibnall. Sorry to you 3 Chibnall fans out there.
All 3 of you.
All 3 of you. But Sacha Dhawan's a fantastic actor, I think, and he does the best with the material he's been given. And
do you think
the Rasputin scene.
Yeah, because there's some
fantastic.
weirdness in the Power of the Doctor, most recent episode starring our good master. Our master also the 14th Doctor. Just to confuse the canon a little bit, if you want to count in terms of regenerations. But anyway, this wonderful Sasha Doctor there. There's kind of, I'm sure one of them blows up on a planet, obviously off screen. But there's kind of two incarnations of the Master in the episode, because there's a present day and a previous day
There's the
Master.
Rasputin Master and regular Master.
Yes, so there's at least one Master still alive. Do you think the next time we see the Master on screen, it is going to be the very same Sasha? Or do you think...
Russell T Davies will want their own version, another version of the Master.
Kiefer Sutherland?
If I don't... Bear in mind, Russell
I
T
just
Davies...
named a random actor. I do not think Kiefer Sutherland would make an ideal Doctor, but Master, but...
Russell T Davies has got Disney money.
Who's next? Oh, he's got Disney money, so he could actually afford Kiefer Sutherland.
He could afford
We'll have our first person to ever play both the Master and Solid Snake.
I hope and pray, and it keeps me awake at night, I hope Russell T Davies, with his Disney money, goes, I can afford Giancarlo Esposito to play the Master.
And we get to see them having a little campy dance, because the Doctor's got to be a bit loopy.
Yeah.
Unless we do something with the Doctor that allows for a loopy and a non-loopy Master.
I hope they cast Giancarlo Esposito and Russell T Davies comes up with a story that finally justifies the Master other than he's evil.
Oh yeah, some are actually clever.
I would hope if I was in charge of Doctor Who and they said, right, do what you want with the Master, I would give him the so if the Doctor, I'd give him the sort of the mandate that if the Doctor's name is a promise, so is the Master's. The Master wants mastery of the universe because he wants peace, but he wants it on his terms.
Yeah, that's a thing that fascists say a lot.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
authoritarians and dictators, they say for peace because, they like to put a positive spin on it to help them sleep at night.
Well, it is warped mind. If I was writing Doctor, he would be like, well, if nobody's warring with each other if they all just obey me. Which kind of, it's a very simple thing, but it also means the Doctor and the Master are working towards the same goal, which is peace in the universe, but they're coming at it from different angles.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that difference between two characters there. It makes them play well off of each other. Yeah. It's why I quite enjoyed the season of either The Punisher or Daredevil, where the whole season contained both The Punisher and Daredevil.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both vigilante, who done and what's it, Daredevil, no killing, Punisher, All the killing. That's two people with very, very similar ideologies, but completely different ways of going about it, completely different morals and ethics towards the situation, which makes for an interesting dynamic. But hey, why not give the Master a season, Dan?
I would have.
Call it the Master. People would know. I think people would know that that's a Doctor Who property straight away.
I think as well. I'd have a season where the Master gets a companion, and they're kind of sort of doing things the Doctor would do, but they're doing it a lot more, callously, a lot more brutally. So the Master would arrive on a alien planet with his companion that probably would have kidnapped rather than just said, hey, do you want to come with me in my box to do adventures and stuff? And the Master's like, no, I need this person because their blood has the cure or something, I don't know, and kidnaps them, and they go do stuff, and the Master's like, rather than finding a way to stop the aliens by not blowing them up, the Master's going to be like, well, how do we blow them up? Because that'd be nice and easy, wouldn't it? And it'd solve all the problems. The Doctor will eventually blow them up, but try talking them down first.
I'd want something a little bit more nuanced than that. nuanced, and I want it to be one of these philosophical issues that come up that are interesting in stories. In a Spider-Man property, I won't say which one, in a Spider-Man property, Spider-Man at the end needs to make a decision on, this is you'll have seen this in other things, this is a bit of cure, I can use it now to cure a loved one, or we can take it away and make more of the cure to cure more people, but then this one person will die. The needs of the many versus the needs of few. I feel like you could do something like that with the Master, with the Doctor, and that cure maybe being a single person that's immune to some horrific virus or something, and maybe the Master's just like, no, just
harvest their blood.
Harvest their blood. Do the evil stuff. Get a big blood harvesting machine and cure people much faster. Give the Master, even if for a bad goal and for bad reasons, give them a shared goal with the Doctor that isn't necessarily just destroying something. And the shared goal is, I don't know, let's say, stop all the Time Lords dying, or stop lots of humans dying, and let the Master, for some reason, whatever reason, maybe there needs to be someone to rule over, otherwise you've a master of nothing, which makes for an interesting dynamic. And I can see the Doctor convincing the Master that if these people die, what's he fighting for as someone who wants to be the Master? What are you the master of? Right, okay, so then we're in this situation where the Master's like, well, we know we can do this right now. We know with enough of this blood, or with this magical science nonsense machine, we can save all these lives, but it will cost that person their life. And the Doctor might not want to do that. They might want to do it in a way that doesn't kill the host, the person that's immune.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we have this genuine, proper debate where real people, you and I, you could make a case that ideologically, if you were to make everyone on Earth right now in real life vote, you might even get a 50-50 split on that. Or it might go one way further than the other way than you'd think. So I think a lot of people would be, yeah, kill.
I think
because more people will be saved. And a lot of people would be, no, don't kill, because that's bad. That's bad for them. Did they get a say in this? No. And by doing that, you're not making the Doctor a baddie. You're not making the Master a good guy, but you're posing an interesting philosophical question that people will talk about and debate and discuss, and more importantly, it will do something that I think is really important, and that is give people a reason to empathise with your villain. Give people a reason to agree with the villain, rather than them just being evil for the sake of being evil.
Yeah, that I think that's what I want from the Master.
That's what I want from the Master, and I want something like that to happen. That's where I want to go with the Master.
And I'd love it. I'd love that. I'd love it if they did that. Because at the minute, I love the Master. It sounds like I'm bagging on the Master. I love the Master. I think he's fantastic. But I think the age of television that we exist in a post-Breaking Bad, post-Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the quality on average of television has increased substantially. Nothing.
Not just that. In both those shows, they're not good guys or bad guys. There's shades of grey. You've got your favourites and that, but TV audiences are much smarter now, and I think a lot of it as well, a lot of memory retention, really. Because if you look at something like Stranger Things, there's like 2-year gaps between seasons, but people still remember because they'll just rewatch it. Doctor Who had that ability, had that sort of resource like Disney Plus or something like that. Sure, there's the BBC iPlayer, but not everywhere has that.
I think shows like that though rely quite a lot on previously on sections, which I think happened quite a lot. Like if you were pop onto Netflix and play Witcher season 2, you would get a quick 5-minute cut together of what happened in season.
Yeah, the famous examples previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, really, which is in itself
yeah.
I think Doctor Who could do something like that, really. I think
You want Doctor Who to be more serialised rather than episodic.
Not necessarily even that, but I think that the idea is now make Doctor Who bingeable. Really.
Well, I like that idea actually. First of all, because it'll be bingeable, I suppose, especially if it comes to Disney Plus. I don't know how that will work with the television, and I mean like regular television TV licensed viewing public on live television in the UK, but I'd like to see them go that way. It'll allow them to tell better stories over the course of the time. Doctor Who has always been monster of the week, really, but with a, with a long-running, sort of minor story. I'd love for them to go much more heavy on the story. I'm more than happy, and I think the public can handle it, in you needing to watch episode 1 and 2 to be able to get episode 3.
Yeah. I also think you can still keep the Monster of the Week formula. You've just got to change the way the story's told rather than do anything super dramatic. Like, have the Doctor go on a quest or a mission or something like that, and then, different segments of different,
I mean, I'll pose a good example, and keeping it on topic with the Master and with recent episodes. So, Power of the Doctor, Chibnall's last episode, some fun Master moments in it. It was a very Master-centric episode.
Yes.
But one of our chief complaints about it was all very rushed. Imagine what a good writer could do with that single episode as its story, but spread over the course of 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah,
or a large part of a season with a couple of little gaps in the middle. First of all, a whole episode on what Bradley was doing in a volcano.
Yeah.
Would be great. But more importantly, you could do a lot more with the Master's story in that. You could develop that character a bit more. There was a single quote in that episode, the Master says, that develops his character more than any other quote in the entire show.
Don't let me go back to being me.
Yeah, that was
so
just
sad.
Just that was a single sentence thing, and for a moment there, the tone of the, and I do mean a moment, 1 second, the tone of the episode and the writing changes suddenly, and you're like, oh, that is telling you so much more about the Master's opinion of themselves. Yeah. They know that they are not good. They had this bad idea, or Chibnall had this bad idea, that just inhabiting the Doctor's body would change anything. You could have done so much with that, but it's not a Power of the Doctor episode, it's a Master episode.
Yeah, it was such.
And I want to see the Master fleshed out more as a character and as an adversary.
There was so much potential. There's so much potential, in my opinion, in the Master to have this sort of fully fleshed out 3-dimensional character. Again, it sounds like I'm bagging on the Master. I love the Master, but he's very just, I'm here and I'm evil.
I'm the villain for these 2 episodes.
I'm the bad guy. I'm showing up. I'm gonna do bad stuff. Why? Because I'm the Master. Although one thing that I do like, even though it's very flat, is that even times when it's been, the Master's definitively dead, and then 2 years later he or she just pops up, and it's like, how did you survive? And he was just like, I escaped. And that's it. And I love it. It's very flat. It's very...
it's fine. The Master can be campy, it can be silly. Yeah. Doctor Who can be. Yeah. Not everything has to be entirely within continuity. The viewer, even fans like us, friends of who you would
friends
say,
of
even people like us can suspend our disbelief in a way that allows us to go, oh yeah, whatever, the Master, get out of it, now get on with the story. Because this is, Disney have it now, just like Star Wars, Doctor Who is now forever. We now have infinite Doctors. I'm sorry, wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff if you're getting confused, but no matter how many times the Master's gonna get killed, even if we have another 16-year gap, the Master will be back.
Yeah, guaranteed.
It's Doctor Who is a cultural touchstone. It will not go away. It may go away temporarily. It will be brought back again.
It will, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator franchise. Hasta la vista, baby.
Is that you saying we should end the episode now?
No, that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger says in the films.
But we probably should say goodbye. We've talked about the Master for long enough, I think.
I think that you're a coward, madam, and I think you don't have the stomach for talking about the Master for any greater length of time.
Fine, okay.
May be struck down with a brick by William Hartnell.
No, it's okay. We'll get to the real point of the episode, and that is our castings for future Doctors.
Oh.
Richard Ayoade.
Paul McGann is...
Sorry, I mean Masters.
Sorry everyone.
Cast future Masters.
I'm just distracted.
Richard Ayoade as a Master.
I think Paul McGann's got worms. He's dragging his bottom across the carpet.
Paul, stop that.
Paul, put the guinea pig down. Anyway, future castings for the Master.
Richard Ayoade, Rowan Atkinson, and Catherine Tate.
These are just your castings for the Doctor, but you're just replacing one word with another.
Right, serious casting options without going obvious. You're not allowed to pick Andrew Scott because he's Moriarty, which means he's already played the Master.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to pick Mr. Fring because he's too scary. He will scare all the Portuguese. He's scarier than the Daleks. Unless you're doing a Kang the Conqueror of Masters, he can't be in it. I'm sorry, I'm overruling you. He's like the main one that kills them all and just brings a gun to every fight, like Japanese Spider-Man.
He's the main body in this. So I'm gonna go for realistic, but still stunt casting because we've got Disney money now.
Okay.
So it's got to be someone good, but I reckon they will get a real big name to play the Master.
Get a big American lad in.
Yeah, big strapping American.
Let him have the bit of America in Doctor Who. That can be what they can have the Master, and then that reverses the trope of the British people being baddies.
Yeah.
Instead, the American is the baddie and the British is the goodie.
But I can't have Giancarlo Esposito.
You can't, no.
I just want to have a party every time I hear his
You're
name.
allowed someone... I know, it's a wonderful name.
I'd like to see Christopher Walken as the Master. I think that'd be
Really?
great.
Wow.
It'd be wacky as fuck, but he has a terrifying visage. And he's just wacky in general.
He is... actually, yes.
But he can be quite cold and terrifying.
So, was Christopher Walken the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man film?
No, that's Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe as the Master.
He's another good choice.
He can do that wacky crazy in the right way. He can do that evil stare.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he is an exaggeration of a baddie when he plays the Geek Green Goblin, and that's why it works.
Yeah.
And I could talk, and that's kind of what the Master is and always has been. And if you don't feel that way, you're taking it too seriously. Yeah. Go back and watch any episode with the Master in it. He is as wacky and camp as it gets, really. As he is terrifying, yeah.
Who else would be a good... Christopher Walken, Willem Dafoe.
If we're talking dream casting, even deceased people,
Oh, really?
Anyone you can think of?
He's not a well-known actor, but he's very good. A chap called Roger Delgado.
Oh, interesting, okay. Tell me more.
He played the first Master. If I could choose anyone,
bring him back.
Yeah.
Well, it's Disney now. They have the
right. No, don't.
They have the rights to everyone's face.
Don't, because that's as.
It's happening. There's already been multiple actors that their likeness is now permitted. Who's that guy that's going to be in some films soon? James Dean.
Madness.
Deceased actor James Dean, who was in films in the 50s? Question mark?
I think he made 3 films, but they were like seminal 50s music.
Yeah. There is going to be a film with them in it, and it's a CGI face man.
I regret.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Disney have it now.
Will happen one day.
If they're listening and they go, that's a great idea. Let's bring back the original Master. And you know what? There's so much precedent for that already in Doctor Who.
I would like them to.
Maybe recast him, but as the same person, like they did with original Doctor,
David
William
Tennant.
Hartnell.
Oh right. If we're going for dream castings that are possibly believable, now we've got that big old Disney fucking money. It's not going to happen. But imagine for a second, for a moment,
if you will,
consider Jack Nicholson as the Master.
Oh, interesting. He's got the energy he brought to playing the Joker. You imagine that in
I was going to say
because
The
it's
Shining.
loopy, it's crazy, and he can do scary. He can do psychopathic. He'd be our if we had a doctor but was a master, I should say, but was truly off the rails insane.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson would do a wonderful job of that.
Yeah, I would love to see Jack Nicholson.
And let him try his best to do a British voice. Just let him do it. Let him be British.
Yeah, by all means, that'd be fantastic. Another dream casting for the Master. Again, unlikely. Just let me live in my own fantasy world here. Wacky Man Phoenix. There's a Joker theme.
Sure. I mean, I suppose it's easy enough to look at other players of baddies and go, would they be a good baddie as the Master? Are you not worried you're typecasting baddies as baddies?
I don't give a shit.
And can you have you got any traditional goodies you'd pass as a baddie? Someone who might make a good doctor, but might also make a good Master.
Genuinely, I thoroughly dislike this individual, but I think he would be an excellent The Master, and it's Tom Cruise. Because I could just see him.
Interesting. A lot of people, including me, just cringed.
Yeah, because
is he going to do his own stunts? He's going to jump into a black hole for real?
No, there'll be no stunts, but just his real life persona.
But he has
and
a
his
real life
association.
cult as well. Oh.
Exactly. No, exactly. So this sort of cultish master who's everybody's fucking pal, but behind closed door he's like, I fucking... Because that's what I imagine he's like.
Just because Tom Cruise is the kind of person that would listen to 14 subscriber podcasts. This is parody. I do not consider Scientology a cult.
I do. And there's a reason for that.
It's a personal opinion and not a fact or slander. Look at me genuinely fearing being sued by Tom Cruise. But he's that much of a little fucking weirdo, isn't he?
Tom Cruise.
As a baddie?
Has
he ever been a baddie?
No, and that's
a lot of properties.
He was sort of a semi-villainous character in Tropical Thunder, and that's the other
the blackface film. Yeah. Yep. We should just talk about Tropic Thunder one day. I'd love to do a podcast talking about classic films that have aged terribly.
Yeah, Tropic Thunder is funny.
Oh Christ!
It's funny.
I'd like us to do this sometime, and we could just go back and watch The Mighty Boosh and just do a cinema sins of everything that
they wouldn't get away with now. But yeah, it wouldn't happen. Tom Cruise is so expensive, but Tom Cruise would make a fantastic Master. Not based on any of his performances, but because of the cult that he runs.
If you were doing
it's a cult.
If you were doing a parody sort of. Kind of like how Red Dwarf had a lot of popularity in its time in Britain, and America tried to do their own version. In the same way America tried to do their own version of the IT Crowd. The
reason you won't watch Community.
They just got it wrong. And in the American pilot for episode 1 of Red Dwarf, Lister was not a gross scumbag, he was an over-the-top tell your AI to draw a protagonist. Tom Cruise is printed out.
Oh, really?
Action hero, man.
Oh, wow.
That's how I see Tom Cruise in this alternate reality where Disney makes the worst possible choices about the Doctor casting. You imagine Tom Cruise as the Doctor, and it's an American Hollywood film. That sounds absolutely awful. Even better, do the Eddie Murphy thing as well. Have him also be the Master.
No, have Eddie Murphy voice the TARDIS console, because of course it speaks.
Oh, like Zordon. Just Eddie Murphy's massive face in
and it's just
center.
like,
yo, I'm the TARDIS.
It's just that. Do you know, in fact, in they almost cast Micheal Jackson as the Doctor. That's a fact.
That can't be right.
That's a fact. You can Google that right now.
No, you state it as if it's fact while I Google it.
Honestly,
I genuinely don't believe you.
During the Wilderness years, they were like, oh, we want to get Micheal Jackson to play.
No, you've already done this with Leonard Nimoy, and while that turned out to be true, it's still ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but I guarantee this is true. This is also true. I don't talk shit about Doctor Who.
All right, well, who would be Micheal Jackson's Master? If Michael Jackson was
Wait,
the
ask me who his companion would be.
Who would Michael
Macaulay
Jackson
Culkin.
comment on? No. So this is the somehow darker timeline of our own reality.
Who would Michael Jackson's that reporter that did that documentary about him that got him in all the trouble?
Oh dear.
Krishnan Guru Murphy would be Michael Jackson.
Oh Jesus! I'm going to read the TARDIS wiki here. During the height of Michael Jackson's popularity in the 1980s, American film studio Paramount Pictures expressed interest in producing a theatrical Doctor Who film that starred Jackson as the Doctor, riding the coattails of the success of Jackson's film Moonwalker. These plans fell through sometime in 1988. Had this idea gone through, Jackson would have been the first non-white actor to portray the Doctor.
That's not accurate.
As well as the first non-British one. There's a lot to unpack in that statement. Wow, okay. Wow, that's the stuff of horrors. Thank you, tardis.fandom.com.
Can you imagine
for the information, which I assume has sources and wasn't something that you actually just put in there, Dan.
I am the TARDIS wiki, baby.
It would be quite funny if you were just adding random actors in.
just for the podcast. You're none the wiser. No, could you imagine how awful a Michael Jackson starring episode of Doctor Who would be? Can you imagine him dancing around the TARDIS and all the fucking lights going in tune to his fucking music?
Macaulay Culkin's behind asking questions because that's what the companions do.
Yeah, why can't I leave?
Why can't And there is Michael Jackson doing a dance number as a Dalek explodes behind him and smoke appears. A red TARDIS's doors open.
No,
it's the Master. Who plays the Master in your Michael Jackson alternate history of Doctor Who?
Oh, I mean, Prince. The only answer is Prince.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Doctor, I have you at last.
Oh, man, and it's
how are we going to get out of this one?
Can it be a musical as well?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Michael Jackson is the Doctor. Macaulay Culkin is fucking little boy wants to get out, and Prince is the Master. Wait, so
wow, licensed Michael Jackson.
Wait. If we have a fan out there that can do music, that can remix the beginning of what's that song? But remix it into the Doctor Who theme. I can't do that. I'm not musically.
It's the kind of thing people could whip up. I'm not going to do that.
Well, I'm asking our fans to do that. I'd be very appreciative.
Mum. Oh no, you timed out ages ago. Never mind.
My mum. Oh wait, you don't. Wait, Dad. Oh no, you don't. Our parents don't love us. People.
Our alternate timeline selves where this is a reality. Can you just rip the song from an episode?
Yeah.
You know, but not the season 6 episodes of Michael Jackson Doctor. The early Michael Jackson Doctor episode.
Oh God.
I want the original.
When Michael Jackson regenerates.
Oh, I'm going to have some great AI prompts for this episode.
When Michael Jackson regenerates, does he go back to his old self? I'm not going to say the actual thing.
Oh no. Oh dear me. Well, I like to imagine that.
I want my Jackson 5, Michael Jackson.
I like to imagine that in that reality, when Michael Jackson had their surgery that changed the colour of their skin, they sold that in the story as a regeneration, meaning in that timeline, Michael Jackson is the 8th and 9th Doctor.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Michael Jackson regenerates, he does that thing. Can you imagine him comforting his companion as Macaulay Culkin, who just wants to leave? Don't cry, Macaulay Culkin.
I want to see a cheesy 80s Doctor Who. Get the directors of Kung Fury, just give them loads of cocaine and just let them do a Doctor Who film. Oh no.
Literally.
Oh no. If we're talking a horrible... oh man. Cheesy 80s people to play the Master. Arnold Schwarzenegger. The red TARDIS doors swing open, there's smoke everywhere.
He's got to come out on a side because he's too broad.
He can barely get out of the TARDIS. And there it is, a classic, ripped, height of his career, Arnold Schwarzenegger just strangling Micheal Jackson.
Just strangling the master.
To music, because it's a musical.
No, the Arnold Schwarzenegger
no.
as the Doctor and the Master is just his little weird pencil
Is this
neck.
worst castings for the Master?
But Doctor, we were brothers!
We
I
were-
know, and then just drops him off a cliff.
Oh no, we want to do an episode just spitballing castings.
He'll
for
be
various
back.
characters, but this is wonderful. He'll be back. Do you know who won't be back? Paul McGann, you've been a terrible, terrible guest.
Paul, take that out of your mouth. He's chewing on the cord.
Anyway.
Look away for 2 minutes.
It's been an hour.
Really?
Yes, plus 24 hours. Dan, say goodbye to the good people at home.
Goodbye, good people at home. Please join us again next week where we'll be talking about... Well, last week we said we'd be talking about the Doctor Who computer game. Instead we've talked about the Master.
Now,
I'm going to say...
Make a wrongful promise about what we'll talk about next week.
Next week we're going to have a free giveaway to a random subscriber. There we go.
Yeah, and we're also going to have a special guest on, not you, Paul.
We're going to be joined next week by...
Micheal Jackson.
By Micheal Jackson.
The ghost of Micheal Jackson.
The ghost of Micheal Jackson was going to tell us all about his experience with Doctor
as,
Who.
as the Doctor in his reality, which opened up. Speaking of which, I'm going into a tunnel.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
I'm going in the tunnel now.
Don't get out of the tunnel, Lee. Get out of the tunnel. Paul McGann's going to eat you.
Goodbye.
No. Goodbye.